Welcome to Front Office Pros. I'm Steve. This is Joe. Today, we're going to be talking to you about something that just went down in our league that was absolutely nuts. We had 11 trades, count them, 11 trades that happened in the deadline and literally 8 within the last hour. So we're here to talk about them. Joe was a part of 2 of them. It was pretty nuts, was it not, Joe?
No, it definitely was, man. Neither one of us were exactly sure how many trades were going to happen. You said you would only anticipate maybe one going down, but then you even made two yourself. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy, especially that last hour, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so we thought it'd be fun to just do a breakdown of the offers. And at the end, we're going to tell you who we thought was the biggest winner of the trade. So, Joe, let's talk about the first trade. Owner A received defensive end Robert Quinn. He had 2 years, $19 million left on his contract, including $10 million guaranteed. They got a 2023 fourth round pick and a 2023 seventh round pick. The other owner in the trade, we'll call him owner B. Owner B got a 2024 sixth round pick.
Yeah, that one, kind of felt like a cap dump in our league. Just taking Robert Quinn, giving him some decent draft capital, and then in our league, you got to get something back in return. So they get a low 6th round pick back.
Yeah, this was, like you said, a cap dump deal all the way. And I gotta understand it. I mean, Robert Quinn is pretty expensive, in regards to our league, and he was really good last year, and he's kind of fallen off. He's getting a little older, so this other team absorbed the cap, and they got a fourth and seventh out of it. So seems to make sense on both sides, I think. So the second trade that went down, owner A received linebacker Jordan Hicks. He had a 1-year deal with $11 million left on the contract, including $5.5 million guaranteed. Defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, 1-year, $8 million contract, including $4 million guaranteed. Wide receiver Randall Cobb, 1-year, $4 million contract, including $3.5 million guaranteed. And Equinemius St. Brown, 1-year, $500,000 contract, including $0 million guaranteed. So that was owner A. Owner B received cornerback Kenny Moore, 1-year, $7 million contract, including $5 million guaranteed. Cedric Wilson, 1-year, $4 million contract, which is fully guaranteed. Defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi, 1-year, $5 million contract, including $2.5 million guaranteed, and then a ton of picks. A 2023 fourth round pick, a 2023 fifth round pick, a 2023 seventh round pick, a 2024 fifth round pick, and a 2024 seventh round pick. That was a lot there, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah, it definitely was. What made this trade interesting is because, owner A traditionally didn't really value defense too much. And to go out and basically do this deal, to get Hicks and then to get Hargrave at the defensive tackle position to upgrade their defense, was surprising, but I think a solid move given that one of the teams going for it and are making a playoff run here.
Yeah, I mean, owner A, like you said, is notorious for not really spending up for defense. So for them to do that was kind of a surprise, but I think it was a good move by them. And, a lot of the picks that they gave were late round picks. Not that late round picks can't turn into something. They definitely can. So I think overall, I think it seems, right around value, with Hargrave and Hicks, they're both on a 1-year deal. So you're going to have to re-sign them, and they're both older as it is. So, do you really want to pay them what they're asking for? So I think at the end of the day, made sense for both parties.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, if like you said, if owner B wasn't gonna bring those guys back, stack a few late round picks and maybe they decide to sign back Kenny Moore, but I mean they get those late picks to give away some guys that you potentially weren't going to re-sign. Pretty solid move.
Absolutely. So our next trade included myself. And so I traded with owner C. And my offer was I gave quarterback Andy Dalton 1-year and $500,000 contract, including $0 million guaranteed. Quarterback Jameis Winston, 1 year, $1.5 million contract, including $0 million guaranteed. and a 2024 third round pick, I received quarterback Geno Smith, 1 year, $1 million contract, including $0 million guaranteed, and a 2024 fifth round pick. And for me, the logic behind this trade was the one quarterback I have is Tom Brady. My backup is Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton. And with Tom Brady going up against the Saints this week, I was pretty concerned about it because he's not done well. And then you also have him playing the Niners the week after. So I'm the number 1 seed right now, and I want to keep that way because I get a bye week if I'm able to secure that number 1 seed. And so Geno has had a great year. I won't re-sign him, but to me, it was a good move now to give me some options.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty solid move for you. I mean, you get Geno Smith, who surprisingly has been one of the top quarterbacks in our league this year. And like you said, you had your concerns with Brady. And it provides you some depth there and an interesting option for the couple of rough weeks that Brady has here. And then it's not like you had to give up anything really too substantial in order to acquire him either. So, pretty solid move, especially a move for yourself, trying to maintain that 1 seed heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could garner anything more than a third round pick. So, I mean, like that to me was probably the max. It'll be interesting because this other owner is in contention too. So there is a level of defense. And I kind of was a little surprised that he actually was willing to do it because he kind of helped me out, I felt like. So that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe should have pushed you a little tighter, made you squeeze a little more for something a little extra.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. All right, the next trade. This one's a real interesting one. With one of our fellow front office pros, Charlie. So Charlie received 2 second-round picks in 2023. And in return, the other owner received wide receiver Calvin Ridley. He's on a 4-year deal. Currently, his contract is tolled like the NFL, but a remaining $39 million on his contract, including $19.5 million guaranteed.
Yeah, this was really an interesting move by Charlie, and it's one that I'm going to be interested to kind of track to see who ends up kind of winning this deal and who makes out because, I really don't know. We don't know how Ridley's going to end up doing in Jacksonville. We can think that his value going forward has increased going to Jacksonville versus possibly coming back to Atlanta, with Marcus Mariota. So the fact that he has Trevor Lawrence in that Jags offense, and then, what Charlie's going to do with those picks, he ended up using one in the trade as we'll touch more on later, but and we'll see what he does with the other one.
Yeah, I think it was a fascinating move. Calvin Ridley is such a hard player to evaluate because he could come back and be the number 1 receiver in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. And it just so happens that owner also has Trevor Lawrence, which I think plays into it that they want to have the stack, with Lawrence and Ridley. But does he come back? And does he come back? Even if he does come back, does he come back in his old form? I don't know. And so to me, 2 seconds I thought was pretty good value. The question is, and you talked about this, could Charlie have gotten more had he wait till the off season to make that trade versus making it at the deadline?
Yeah, it is interesting, but after thinking about it, I mean, I think the 2 seconds probably would have been hard to beat. I don't know if anyone would have given him a first. That would have been interesting to see if somebody would have, in the offseason, but I don't think so. So I think the couple of seconds was good enough for him, especially with Charlie trying to swing other deals at the deadline as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about the next deal that Charlie made. This is a doozy. So Charlie received wide receiver Mike Williams. He had a 1-year contract of $1.5 million, including $0 million guaranteed. Linebacker Zaven Collins on his rookie deal still, 3 years, $10.5 million contract, including $3.5 million guaranteed. Then the other owner received linebacker Cole Holcomb, 1 year, $4 million contract, including $0 million guaranteed. And he's currently on IR right now. And then a 2023 first round pick and a 2023 second round pick, which Charlie used in the trade that he got the second from the Calvin Ridley trade.
Yeah, it's a really interesting move. I mean, really shows that Charlie's obviously trusting in Mike Williams that he's probably going to be re-signing him here in the offseason because otherwise, we're not even sure if he's going to play the rest of this year. So it's definitely not a move to acquire him for this season. And, well, unless he does, of course, play at some point, then he could make an impact. But he's going to look to put it. I'd like the move, especially to get Zaven Collins, a young linebacker who's looked pretty good with the Cardinals. So definitely an aggressive move by Charlie, but I think it should work out for him.
Yeah, the other owner in our league had been shopping Mike Williams for a while, and I know I had interest, but at the time I tried and I didn't have much success. So I was actually quite surprised to see that trade hit the wire. But I'm actually also very surprised that Charlie was able to get Zaven Collins. I believe that other owner valued him pretty highly, and he used a second round pick to draft him. So in essence, to me, I view it as the second round pick was for Collins, and then basically a first for Mike Williams, and then Holcomb's really just a salary dump because he's on an IR. I don't know the specific details on when he'll come back, and he'll be a free agent and he'll cost some money. So it'll be interesting. I mean, when it comes to Mike Williams, I like the player. The availability concerns me. So it should be really interesting. I'm very curious to see how Charlie. I would think he's going to re-sign him. I'll be curious to see how he structures that contract. That to me will be very telling to see how I feel. I guess you could say who won the trade.
Yeah, it'd be mighty risky if he does a high guaranteed deal, kind of as we've seen him do with a DJ Moore like contract. With Mike Williams' health issues, it'd be pretty tough to do a high guaranteed contract.
Absolutely. So our next trade was between owner A, and owner A received Aaron Jones. He was on a 1-year deal, $11.5 million contract, including $6 million guaranteed, and a 2023 seventh round pick. And then the other owner received defensive tackle Zach Allen. He had 3 years, $57.5 million guaranteed, including $21 million guaranteed, and he had a pretty sizable signing bonus on the books, which that other owner had to pay out in regards to the signing bonus, and then a 2023 third round pick.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by this move, mainly because I know owner A really loved Aaron Jones, and it was a guy that I've been trying to acquire from him for quite a bit, but just his valuation for Jones was just higher than I wanted to pay, so we could never get a deal done. But he also was looking for young defensive tackle and pretty hurting at that position, so I think it makes sense for both parties.
Yeah, he was hurting it for defensive tackle for quite some time, so I think that fills a need for him. And most, Zach Allen is not a household name, but he really does. He really has performed over these past 2 years, and so I think it could be a good move for him. It'll be interesting to see what the other owner does with Aaron Jones because he is a rebuilding team, and Aaron Jones doesn't really fit the timeline. So, will he franchise tag him? Will he re-sign him in hopes of maybe competing? I don't know. I'll be very curious because I think it was more so that one owner wanted that Allen contract off the books, and I don't blame him. It's a pretty big one, and if you don't believe in the player, then you got to get rid of him.
Yeah, I think for owner B, that's really what it came down to. I almost acquired Zach Allen in a trade, a few weeks ago, but then just decided to take him out of the deal. Mainly, a lot of it had to do with the money risk. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what he does with Aaron Jones, given that this is his last year of his contract and he's going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason.
Yeah, so the next deal that was made was by myself, and I received defensive tackle Vita Vea on a 2-year, $22 million contract, including $11 million guaranteed. And I got a 2023 6th-round pick. The other owner received defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, a 1-year, $500,000 contract, including $0 million guaranteed, and a 2024 5th-round pick. But as a part of the trade, the other owner ate the entire salary for 2022. So effectively, I got Vita Vea for $0 million this year, and then he'll be 11.5 next year.
Yeah, it was pretty big for you to get the other owner there to eat the contract. for Vita Vea. I mean, I had Vita Vea to start out this year, and traded him before the season started, largely due to his cap number. So the fact that you get him for free was a pretty nice move, and you got Donald on your team who's obviously out this week, so you needed to get a defensive tackle. I know you acquired another one earlier this week as well, but just to give you extra insurance, pretty solid move. And once again, I didn't feel like you had to give up that much either. So
Yeah, I didn't have to give up too much. I think mainly because of the size of his contract. Vita Vea is a really good player, but sometimes the production doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And so in fantasy, it's about the stats. And because of that, he's a good player in name, but sometimes it just doesn't show up. But I think he's played a lot better this year. I believe he might have the most sacks in his career this year. So he might be having a career year on that. I'd have to check that out. But to me, I like the move for myself because, like you said, Aaron Donald is out. And so I need a rotation of guys in case injuries happen because I don't want to be left with nobody. So I didn't feel like I had to give up too much. I'll have to figure out the contract next year. And then, for the other owner, they get that hefty contract off the books, frees up some cap space for them to do other moves.
yeah, well, one thing that's interesting is I always thought the fact that Ndamukong Suh was in Tampa would have helped Vea, but it actually seems like he's benefiting from Sue being out of his way and being able to get himself into getting sacks and more fantasy points. Because, like you said, his production on the field was never a problem, but it didn't, for whatever reason, translate to fantasy points. Was another reason I didn't really like him too much.
Yeah, right now he's got 6.5 sacks on the year, which is a career high for him. Before, the most sacks he's ever had was 4, which was in 2021. So he's definitely have a pretty strong year. So the next trade we had, Joe, was featuring you. You received Jalen Ramsey, 3 years, $21 million contract, including $10.5 million guaranteed. The other owner received a 2024 second round pick, but as a part of the trade, the other owner paid Ramsey's entire salary in 2022. So he's zero for you right now.
Yeah, that was definitely nice to not have to keep the 7 million for Ramsey on the book this year. But this is a kind of a future move I did for myself. It was interesting. I mulled this one over for a while. The Ramsey owner there was pretty persistent with me, and drawing up different offers and really trying to gauge my interest, even though I hadn't seemed interested due to what the asking price was. But then it came down to a second, and even though felt like it was hefty, it was a future move because I have Trayvon Diggs. Not sure if I'll bring him back or not. So this kind of helps me for future have somebody in a pretty cheap contract.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested in Ramsey myself earlier, and that other owner was the bar was set at a second round pick. I didn't really want to go there. I was really only willing to give a third round pick, and so I was out of that sweepstakes. But in a lot of individual defensive player leagues, or those of you who do team defense, obviously you'll know Ramsey's name because he is a name. But for us corners that we grade pass deflections and interceptions at a much higher scoring total as far as the scoring category. So it makes cornerbacks way more relevant. And, Ramsey's a top 5 corner in our league, and I think could really, really help you. And you've got the best corners in the league now with Trayvon Diggs and Jalen Ramsey for this playoff stretch.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That was all part of it because I other than opposite of Diggs, I was really just kind of relying on some young players like Paulson Adebo and Nate Hobbs, who's been hurt. So Ramsey's definitely going to be a boost, and then also have him for a couple more years after.
So then you made another trade right before the deadline, Joe. You received Jeff Wilson on a 1-year, $1 million contract, including $0 million guaranteed. Defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, 1-year, $1 million, including $0 million guaranteed. Linebacker Frankie Louvu, 1-year, $500,000 contract, including $0 million guaranteed. And then the other owner received defensive tackle Jordan Phillips, 1-year, $1.5 million contract, including $0 million guaranteed. Safety Malik Hooker, 1-year, $500,000 contract, including $0 million guaranteed, and then a 2024 third round pick.
Yeah, this one, I had to kind of bargain the other owner down for the third pick for those 3 players, but And, in the end, we got it done, and I was pretty happy to get Jeff Wilson. With add to my rotation of running back, especially, I'm a Christian McCaffrey owner, and that knee thing's a little scary, and not sure what his availability is going to be, and have Jamal Williams. I also made a trade earlier in the year for Raheem Mostert, but since Jeff Wilson was there, he's been irrelevant. So I felt like I needed something, and then Dorrance Armstrong and Luvu give me some strong rotational pieces, if my other guys go down.
Yeah, people won't know Frankie Louvu. He's definitely not a household name. He was undrafted. He actually started off with the Jets and then went over to Carolina, but this has by far been his best year. Has had over 74 tackles, 4 sacks on the year. He's been, really playing really well for the Panthers, and that's going to be a great depth option for you at linebacker, possibly be able to start him. And Dorrance Armstrong as well has kind of came out of nowhere, played really, really strong of late, and wasn't expecting anything out of him. And again, injuries happen all the time. So having a guy in there to be able to rotate, because, you're pretty stacked at defensive end with Max Crosby, Matt Judon, and Danielle Hunter. So, you're not going to need him, to start for you, but there's no denying. I mean, he has 8 sacks on the year. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. What Chandler Jones has a half sack. So, and then, sorry, I was a little salty there. And then the other piece of it is, like you said, Jeff Wilson. He's been really, really productive with Miami, and you might be able to, he's definitely going to be a guy you're going to consider week in and week out, possibly starting, especially if McCaffrey's out, or maybe between him and Jamal Williams, decide what you want to do.
Yeah, other than Jeff Wilson's this week's matchup against the 49ers, he's got some good matchups like the Chargers coming up. So he's definitely going to be in contention for me.
All right, then the next trade we had, the first owner received wide receiver Elijah Moore on his rookie contract, 3 years, $10.5 million contract, including $3.5 million guaranteed. The other owner received a 2023 second round pick and a 2023 fifth round pick.
Yeah, this deal was interesting. Elijah Moore's been pretty much non-existent this year, and then all of a sudden, Mike White comes in and starts targeting him, and he actually, once again shows his talent and how good he potentially is if he just has somebody that can get him the ball. So, like you said, the other owner got a second round pick, which is what they used to draft him originally. So, it'll be interesting to kind of monitor the trade and see if Elijah Moore ever hits what his value thought based on his talent was.
Yeah, I've always liked his talent. And, I was actually tried to get, I had a high grade on him going into the draft. It was a while. I think I was trying to get him too, and I never got him. I honestly was surprised that the one owner was able to get as much as he was able to, because he used a second round pick to draft Elijah Moore. So, to me, you got that same value back and a little bit more, and he's been so disappointing. I thought it was a little bit of an up pay. Then I thought that he really, I mean, good for that owner to be able to get that return. And, the one receiving Elijah Moore, they've got a talented player. Hopefully something changes in New York, or maybe he goes somewhere else where he can start to be productive. And I think this is probably the most relevant trade, I would say, for those of you who play in Dynasty. I could see this type of trade possibly happening in your league. Obviously, with us, we've got IDP players, we've got the salary cap and contracts, so that adds a whole other wrinkle and element to it. But I could see this type of trade happening in your leagues.
Yeah, it definitely is one of the more relatable ones for sure, because it didn't, involve any IDP players or anything like that. It's strictly a second round pick plus for Elijah Moore. And yeah, I think it's interesting for the Elijah Moore side of things here. I think, this could definitely mark the end of Zach Wilson's time in New York, and New York has shown that they don't really want to trade Elijah Moore. So, if they do get a veteran quarterback like Jimmy G in the offseason, Elijah Moore's value could be very good going forward here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so going on to our last trade, which is effectively a salary dump trade. Charlie received a 2025 seventh round pick. The other owner received wide receiver Russell Gage, 1 year, $2.5 million contract, including $0 guaranteed. Tight end Tommy Tremble, 2 years +1, because we do restricted free agents because Tremble was undrafted. $1 million contract, including $0 guaranteed. Linebacker Nicholas Morrow, 1 year, $1.5 million contract, including $0 guaranteed. Kicker Chris Boswell, 1 year and $500,000 contract, including $0 guaranteed, and a 2024 6th round pick.
Yeah, like you said, I think this is just another salary dump here for team. I did was this also a move the owner made to kind of stay within the cap threshold at this point, or?
Well, yeah.
Or not really.
So for our league, because there's salary cap rollover in the NFL, we are also able to have salary cap rollover, and so they had they were above that amount, so this got them to right around the amount where it's the max of rollover, and then the other owner got extra money in it as well.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking. But why the other owner was acquiring these guys was going to keep them within the minimum threshold and the max that they could possibly roll over. And like you said, the owner that sent the players over, and now it gets a little roll over themselves.
Yeah, basically, it's for a 6th round pick, they get that in return.
Right.
So that was our crazy trade deadline with the 11 trades that happened. Real quick, Joe, we just went through a ton of the trades. What to you stands out? What's the biggest winner, would you say, of the trades that went down?
Yeah, I think the one that really stands out to me was Charlie's deal where he's getting Mike Williams and Zaven Collins there, the linebacker. I think those are the two of the bigger names in the deal, and the fact that he acquired both of them, but then also giving up a first and a second round pick for those guys as well. I think those had the biggest implications.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's going to be the most impactful. And I do like Mike Williams. I like Zaven Collins. And I like that he used the 2nd-round pick that he got in the Ridley trade to be able to go ahead and acquire, Zaven Collins on a rookie contract, and then Mike Williams. I think both could be really helpful for his team in the long term. So I think it's a great move. And for the other owner, they're able to, reinvest in their team through the draft. And kind of start fresh, and there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the fun things with our Dynasty League and all the implications is a lot of owners have different kind of strategies. You and I are pretty aggressive in the win now modes, but then got some other guys that kind of just play it safe to be playoff relevant, and there's some of the bottom feeders that are rebuilding. So it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Well, and the other piece is, what people don't see behind the curtain is a lot of these teams, even had multiple 1st and 2nd-round picks. So you might be asking, like, oh, wow, he traded his 1st and his 2nd, like in that year, while he had an additional 1st. And I want to say he had even 2 other 2nds, or even though I saw like maybe a total of 3 or 4 2nds. So it just, picks are valuable. I don't think you should, get rid of them like candy. But at the same time, when you have multiple of them, it makes it a little bit more palatable to trade them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm on the other side of the equation there. I never really have any picks because I'm just willing to trade them for proven commodities, but to each their own.
Yeah, well, you're not trading them for nothing though. You're trading them for proven valuable commodities. You're not just giving them up for the sake of giving them up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that was our breakdown of the crazy trade deadline that we had. We hope that you found this video enjoyable. And if you think, the aspects of our league are cool and it'd be kind of exciting for you, go ahead and put a comment down. We'd love to be able to share what we've learned and the experience we've had with creating this Dynasty League. We've had it up and running now. I believe this is our, 3rd season, Joe? 4th season?
I think it might be our 4th.
4th, yeah, right, because we have had 3 winners. So this will be our 4th winner this year.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully, you find this content enjoyable, and if you do, we really would encourage you to subscribe to our channel. We're a new channel, and we try to create several videos on a weekly basis, and we really would welcome your support as we try to continue to brainstorm and think about new content that we can make that can be enjoyable and relevant to the Dynasty Fantasy Football community. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time.